Gang, are you looking for better sleep and relaxation or relief from pain or anxiety without feeling totally drugged? Well, let me tell you about True Hemp Science full spectrum CBD products. True Hemp Science promises premium quality, pure ingredients, and true value. They source the highest grade organic hemp from around the world to handcraft the finest full spectrum CBD products in the Austin area and beyond. They offer a complete line of full-spectrum CBD products, including oils, tinctures, skincare lotions, sports rubs, gummies, and chocolates. Gang, I've been using their products for a while now, and they've lowered my anxiety and given me incredibly restful sleep. How Did I Get Here has teamed up with True Hemp Science to bring you a very special offer that benefits all of us. Spend $100 or more at True Hemp Science, and they will include either the number 81 distillate, which is great for nighttime, or the number 23 distillate, which is great for daytime, with your order. And that is a $25 value. Just go to truehempscience.com/HDIGH. That's truehempscience.com/HDIGH and balance your body and mind with True Hemp Science full spectrum CBD products. Let's get down.
And you may ask yourself, well, how did I get here?
It's time for How Did I Get Here? And now here is your host,
When we talked,
All right. Hello, I'm Johnny. I'm your host. Welcome to the show. I hope you guys have all had a good week this week. I've had a good week. We had some sad news in the world of rock and roll this week. Legendary guitar player Jeff Beck passed away on Wednesday. That was sad news, man. I wasn't a guy that was always listening to Jeff Beck all the time, but I did my time with Jeff Beck at one point. I don't think there's any guitar player, you know, in his 40s, 50s, or 60s, or even 70s that didn't have that time where they zoned, like tuned in to Jeff Beck, like zeroed in on his stuff, like focused on him for a bit. You know, you have a friend of yours. I think it might have been my friend David Von Olerking that was like, wait, you never listened to Blow by Blow and Wired? Listen to this. So then you start listening to it, man. Go back and listen to those Jeff Beck group records with Rod Stewart singing. Fantastic stuff. What an amazing and inspiring musician that guy is. I will say that since YouTube has come out, I have watched him a lot, like watched a lot of shows of his on YouTube, especially when he had that great bass player Tal Wilkenfeld playing with him. I always loved watching him play. His physicality was so cool. Like, he was such a cool physically guitar player. He played without a pick. He was always hitting that whammy bar. I guess after I don't know when that whammy bar thing started, but it's still fucking great. So awesome, man. Sad loss for music. And you know, I saw that he had been, like, he had just played, like, just a matter of like a month ago or something like that. Here, like with ZZ Top or something. He played with like in the Woodlands. Still doing great. Sad loss for rock and roll, baby. That's what I'll tell you right now. Jeff Beck, rest in peace. Thank you for the inspiration. Get out there and listen to some Jeff Beck music today. Make you feel better. I did yesterday. It felt really nice. It was nice. I was like, fuck, this guy was really fucking good. I can understand why people like Eddie Van Halen, like that was his guy, you know? So, you know, you can't go wrong, right? It's been a busy week here at How Did I Get Here? Been doing a lot of podcasts, been catching up, getting the year started, like kicking it back into gear. Talked to Nagavali this week. That was so great. Always inspiring talking to her. Amazing Indian-American musician. You can check out her stuff. I think you can go to nagavali.com and just check that out. But you'll hear that on Tuesday. She's got a brand new album coming out. It's really fucking great. Great getting back into the swing of things. Great rehearsal with Skyrocket this week. Speaking of which, Skyrocket will be playing a show next Friday, January 20th at 310 Austin City Limits Live. Come on out and check it out. It's always a great show there. They have the great screen, and we have a great video presentation for that thing. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you can go to skyrockettheband.com. You can find out more about it there. 310austin.com is where you can get tickets for the show. January 20th, that's Friday, next Friday. Come on out, check it out. So always a good time with Skyrocket. What else has been going on? My grandma's doing. She had a bad early part of the week, but she's doing better this later part of the week. My family, Went to the beach for a few days, but I'm going to be in the studio this weekend with Jake Lloyd with the Austin Music Foundation Artist Development Program. I also have a really big podcast this weekend. Oh God, guys, I'm so excited to tell you about it, but I'm not going to. I don't like to talk about stuff until I've already done it. It's in the books, and it's all, you know what I mean? I don't like to say like, hey, I'm doing this without it actually happening, because then you look like a dipshit if you don't do it. But yeah, going into the studio this weekend with the great Jake Lloyd, Austin Music Foundation Artist Development Program artist. If you don't know Jake Lloyd, get out there and check him out. He's got some great music. He's fantastic. I'm really excited to see what he's bringing to the table. And for those we record 2 songs in 2 days over here at the Bubble with the great Frenchie Smith at the helm producing, my friend Einar as well. And it's really exciting to get in there and to make something in, 48 hours. You don't have all 48 hours, but you're kicking ass. Usually you do about 36 of those hours. But yeah, it should be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. Gang, I have a great show for you guys today. I do. Long Island, New York band, These People, which is basically TJ Penzone, and with help from his brother Rick Penzone, and then a bunch of musicians that he gets together. But this is pretty much of a solo project, but it goes under the name These People. You can find them at thesepeople.org. Fantastic record, man. There's like shoegaze, prog is what I view this as. And also, like a great bit of pop music. They have a brand new EP out that came out in 2022 called In Place of Time on Parallel Division / Green Rich Recordings. And I want to thank TJ for reaching out, man. He's from up there in Long Island, New York. He reached out to me. He said, hey, I heard that might be good to come on the show. And I started looking up his stuff. I listened to the music of These People, especially their latest EP, In Place of Time, and was just blown away. I was like, fuck, man, I love this music. I love his band. I love his voice. I love his sensibility, his weird melodies, of just a fucking amazing artist. He comes from a band called Men, Women, and Children that was on Warner Brothers. That was like a funky party band. I'm drawing a blank on the band they reminded me of, but I tell them about it in the thing. You'll know who I'm talking about. They didn't Fits and the Tantrums. That's what I'm talking about. They seem like they were on the Fits and the Tantrums trip right before Fits and the Tantrums kind of started coming out and doing their thing. Anyway, These People is a lot different. As I said, it's a lot more shoegazy. The songs are great. He's a great singer, great songwriter, great guitar player, great music. There's great music going on here. They actually just opened for live. That's pretty exciting. And getting out and playing some other shows. You can find them at thesepeople.org. Check out their EP, In Place of Time. And please enjoy my conversation with TJ Penzone from the band These People. Let's get down. Hey, buddy, how are you?
Hey, what's up, man?
I'm having that thing where I just, you hear songs on the radio at some point in your life and you just dismiss it and you're like, that's just fucking stupid. Why is someone playing this at me? So it always like reflects off of your eardrums. It doesn't penetrate you anymore. But then all of a sudden you're at the grocery store and you hear Finish What You Started by Van Halen.
That's right.
Like, it just really faintly, but you're like, holy fuck, that is awesome. So I can't stop singing it.
Oh, I understand.
So I didn't have time to see my therapist this week. So I wanted to talk to you about this.
Dude, that's funny you say that because my therapist just retired.
You're kidding me, really?
Like a week ago. Yeah, he just called me out of nowhere and was like, I got to talk to you, dude. And he's like, I got to retire. And I'm not going to tell like personal reasons, but
how long were you seeing
I was like,
him?
what am I supposed to do?
Yeah, I know. What about me?
What about me, dude?
He's like, what have we been working on this whole time?
Dude, it's really funny, but he's great, and I actually loved him. And the first time I actually stuck with therapy for over a year or something, I never really tried to do it seriously, but he was great. He's like a musician and an author, and he just helped me, he did a lot for me, I feel. So
It's amazing.
now everything's over for me now.
Are you going to find a new person? Because that's what sucks is like the whole, like, there's the whole, you know, the whole first couple of months, you got to redo the whole backstory to someone new. Or can you just transfer the notes from your
I
retirement?
don't know. You know what's funny? Any of my close friends that asked me were like, well, did he give you a referral? And he didn't. So I was like, you didn't even give me a referral. He was just like, later, man.
Did he quit to go like start a band?
No, he's like an older dude. He's just retiring.
Okay. I thought,
Yeah, he's just.
I live in Austin, and that I had to get a new dog walker because like my dog walker was like, oh no, I got a gig that night, and then like, hey man, you're not coming to my gigs. I'm like, hey dude, I'm playing gigs and I need a fucking dog person to come to my house. Like, TJ, nice to meet you, man.
Yeah.
I'm Johnny.
You too, man. Nice to meet you. You're a little low on my end, but I don't have.
So, dude, I'm so glad you reached out to me. I don't normally get like just random band dudes sending me some stuff, and then I went and like listened to your In Place of Time, and I was just blown away. Like you're really, I mean, first of all, you're fucking weird, like as a songwriter, which is amazing. Yeah. I mean, it's hard to do something and sound so like that first song Level is like, or that song Levels is like, it is like a shoegaze prog song.
Yeah. The bass and drums kind of flip everything, you know, like everything I write is like in this, my brother's actually playing bass and drum set. He always just does like he can flip it really, really nice with that, you know?
Now that's Rick.
Yeah. My brother, Rick. Yeah.
And you guys were in Men, Women, and Children together.
Yeah.
Okay. That band's cool. It seems like you guys could have been taking the place of Fitz and the Tantrums.
I don't even know what that sounds like, but I have heard of them.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I saw them from like touring club band, you know, to like on New Year's Eve they played the ABC thing with like Duran. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, we kind of were at the beginning or around that of like the kind of punk funk party kind of thing, I guess. You know, we did our first real very fortunate, our first real tours with Gang of Four, and like we would do, which was crazy because we love them, and we would do Flashlight from Funkadelic with them, like every night on stage, and it was really crazy.
That's awesome. I was in a band that played that song.
Great song.
Yeah. Anyway,
very different though than what I'm doing now.
Extremely different. Extremely different. But the thing is, I was going to say is you were ahead of your time. If that record, I think, would have come out like 4 years later, it would have been accepted differently. Yeah. You know,
it was a crazy time all around. I mean, we came out right too. Like downloading was huge. And I remember people coming to our show. We actually had a lot of great shows, and we did really well live. And I remember some companies be like, "I downloaded your record," and I remember I was so upset.
Yeah.
Like that's at the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for listening to my music for free.
Yeah.
So at the time we were on like a major label, and it was like, you know, they didn't really count people sharing the record and and listening to the record, you know?
Well, that's another thing I was going to say is that that record came out at a time when you really didn't need I mean, you needed a label to do some stuff, but like at the level, you know what I mean? From going from zero to like 1,000 is real hard to do right out of the gate at that point.
Yeah. 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 And it also was really weird. Like my experience was like, you know, I was a kid and I didn't really know how things worked. And we had a demo and we were signed to Warner Brothers for like a real contract and, you know, touring Europe and America, playing huge shows. And it was just very strange. Like they would waste money on things that like a $10,000 remix to have like the dude who mixed like a Smashing Pumpkins album or something or Nine Inch Nails, like to do the remix. And it was like $10,000 and like out of the budget, like that stuff happened all the time. And now I'm like $10,000. I can make like three videos and, you know,
it's funny.
Whatever.
I was on a label before that. My record came out in the summer of 2000, but that was like at the dawn of, that was at the big fight of Napster. And coincidentally, we were signed to Lars Ulrich's label
Oh, wow. What was his label called?
It was called the Music Company, TMC.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I was going to ask
didn't know
you,
that.
when you were at Warner Brothers, who was the president of the label then?
Tom Wally.
Okay. Oh, so an old school guy.
I think he signed like Primus and.
Yeah. But you can see how a guy like that probably got pushed aside a little bit when the new shit came out.
I don't know. I remember we had an A&R guy who was the most. How would I say this? If I had to like make a caricature of an A&R guy, it was that dude. But he was he actually passed away, so I don't want to say anything disparaging about him. But at the time, we were just like, it just felt like, oh, this is what you do to a band. You know, this is you just send them to the house producers. You spend this much money on this.
The machine.
It's not his fault.
Yeah,
it's not his fault. It's just the way that it was.
Right.
Whereas, when you take a band, and especially for us, I feel like we kind of had like, to a degree, an original sound happening. It was very anti everything else happening in Long Island. You do things different ways. You could strategize like, oh, maybe whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? Compartmentalize all the different ways to do it instead of just being like, oh, send them to the producer that did, whatever, because he's the house guy, But we ended up doing that, not going to. We ended up going to Omaha, Nebraska, and working with this dude, Mike Mogus. Do you know who he is?
Is that the Bright Eyes guy?
Yeah, he's in Bright Eyes. He did like the Saint and Cursive records, and he's a brilliant guy. We loved him, but we worked with him, and because I think I was like into a lot of that stuff. I always thought Cursive and Saint were cool, and I liked that record he did at the time. We went to there, and he liked the majority of the songs to a degree, and then like it was very strange though. It wasn't like, it was kind of like, yeah, go ahead, go work with the dude that you plan to do it, but then we're going to send you to like
yeah,
like this, you know what I mean? And we ended up, some of those other producers were rad. I'm still friends with. We worked with this dude, Rain Maida, who was a sweetheart, and he was really good to us. So we had a few other songs we did with other people, but yeah, I think about 6 or 7 were with Mike Mogus, and he just had a cool setup out there with walls of keyboards, and he's just a nerd, and there's a lot of stuff that we like too,
Someone that has like I try to reenact that for myself, to have toys everywhere to play with and inspire yourself
absolutely.
To make noise. It's so funny, TJ, that experience. I wish they could get guys like you and me on a panel, and we can explain to people that everybody tried to do the same shit with us as well. Like at first they tried to do like the whole go to Sunset Sound, and like, you go to LA and you make a record and you record drums and bass for fucking 3 weeks, and it's completely disjointed. And we used to record an entire song a day. That was kind of our pace and how we did shit. And and then we made a record, we threw it away, and then they did same thing. Go ahead and make the record with your guy, because we're gonna get Jack Joseph Puig to mix it later. It doesn't really matter. You know what I mean? Like, but it didn't work for either of our bands, and it's just funny because your record, that record, I gotta say, it is fucking great. Like that, Men, Women, and Children, I think it's really good. And whoever mixed it, I thought did a great job.
Garrett Jones, who worked with Depeche Mode, he did Black Celebration, and he produced Black Celebration, and he mixed a bunch of stuff. He did. My brother is still in touch with him for his own solo stuff, and Garrett was amazing. Yeah, he mixed that whole record, because we worked with like 3 or so different producers. So I can't even listen to it, and like
I understand that. Like, I get it.
It's just so much information. Like it's being a producer at this point and learning so much. It was like that band was like 4 different maniacs making, whatever decisions or trying to do this. And it's funny. It sounds like that to me. It sounds like just like everything, where now I'm like, I think my vocals are the least favorite part of it to me, because I felt like maybe I was just trying to add all these vocal productions and all these things, where it's like, now I'm like, oh, I could do a single here and have backup singers do this. Like I was trying to do everything, but whatever. It happened, and it's cool. There's some interesting stuff with it. So, well,
it's funny. How old were you when you did that record?
Must have been like 24 or 5.
Yeah, there's an energy that right now, like I as still being an artist and a songwriter and a performing artist, you want to try and tap. You want to use the wisdom you have now, but you want to have some kind of like fire under your ass, like that's coming out. Mm-hmm. Like, you know what I mean? Like there has to be a little bit of like.
Yeah.
Never mind the bullocks in whatever you do to have that sort of like energy.
Yeah, no, I agree. It was definitely like crazy. I mean, I think even where I was at, like, in my life, I think it's just such a different place, like that. I can't fully explain it, but I just didn't. I was a kid. I didn't really know how to handle, instead of being like, dude, we're opening up, we're playing a festival with the Who and the Strokes. And there's, so many people, is like, but we'd be having dopey fights about nonsense. And you know what I mean? Like, it was hysterical when I think back about it.
I've been in this for a long time. I'm like 54 at this point, and
oh, you look good, man.
I've done like 1,200 and something of these fucking podcasts, and everybody always goes back, and any kind of great thing that was happening, they weren't having a good time because that same fucking shit that happens with bands, man. Being in a band is so fucked up, man.
Yeah, and it's really funny, and I think of it now. It's like there's so many different ways I could have expressed I think everyone in my band at that time were just, I don't know. It just seems like everyone was just out of their mind and just being thrust into this thing. And we didn't really understand, like, no, but we can handle. We also got our van and trailer stolen, and that kind of, we lost so much stuff that was kind of the thing that ended us, because we just couldn't really recover from that. All our merch, everything. And, yeah, I mean, we were on some like MTV 2 tour, and they stole our van and trailer in Detroit, and we ended up staying on the tour and going on the other band's buses and just in our regular clothes. And I just remember that being crazy. And then after that, it was tough. I think our last show we ever played, we got out of the debt that we were in. I mean, it was like over $100-something grand in like gear and merch and crazy stuff. So we wrote like a second record. We just literally, it's just kind of everyone wanted to do different stuff. They gave the band to me and my brother, and that we could have put out a lot of records, but he just, I don't think, was in that place to do that. And then I started my own solo thing, and that had a very different sound and a very different thing, and just very natural sounding to me, what I do now. And that's
these people. That's when you started that.
Yeah, it's essentially, I consider that just my solo project, because I'm mixing and producing and writing, and it has like when I first started to write my own stuff after that, it was kind of towards the end of Men, Women, and Children. But when I started to write, I had this specific style that came out, because I hadn't been writing my own songs during that band, because I was just writing vocals to that music. You know what I mean? Essentially. Okay. Now, so when I went to like sit and write, that's why it's so different, because it was like, I get it. Yeah.
Now I understand the difference of it.
Yeah, I paused, and I also grew up a lot listening to like Syd Barrett and big Bowie fan, and I would just go to the Kinks and all. I would just go and like just learn tunes. I remember just being on tour, and I'm just like learning songs. And then when I went to write my own stuff, I was really on a big like early T-Rex kick around the time I started these people too, where like when it was ready to be acoustic-y, like percussion, like before it went like rock and roll.
Yeah, when it was just Mark and Mickey Finn.
Yeah, dude, I was like really obsessed with that record. Unicorn, I think, was the record. I haven't listened to it in so many years.
I'm a huge fucking T-Rex fan, like crazy huge.
Love them.
Yeah.
Mark Bolan was sick.
Totally.
But anyway, so I had different influences, you know what I mean, for when I went into my own thing. And I still, even making new music now, it's funny, like the These People thing, which is, just has a specific, I go to write, even wrote a tune the other day and just recorded it. And I'm like, I don't know, I just have such a process from the ground up of what I do that it'll always kind of sound in the same world, even though I can kind of switch up the rest of the production or that kind of vibe. But the way I write like acoustic is, specific, of the way I'm like timing stuff out and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's just fun. Like you know what I mean? Like I don't think I could run out kind of my process. You know what I mean? If that makes any sense. Like,
Sure.
I feel fortunate about that, though. I'm not like I'm like kind of like, oh, this makes sense or it doesn't make sense, and on that level. So
yeah. So are you from Long Island, like born and raised?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. From Wausau, New York. Yeah.
Okay. I played there a few times. I just cannot fucking remember the place.
It depends when. I could tell you maybe some of the...
Like, it was like 2000 and then 2002 and then 2004.
The only really venues we had, I think, around that were like maybe like not the Crazy Donkey. That was after. There was the Downtown was one that was kind of like a. Man, I'm kind of drawing a blank. Was it like a really big venue? Or was it like a middle of level?
I can't remember if I only played one or if I was here. I know I did play there because I remember there was a place that had a great chicken parmesan sandwich.
There's a few, man.
It was very near the club. I think I walked there every time. So maybe it was the same place.
The Vanderbilt was one. That was like the Vanderbilt was a club.
What's
a go-to show? So
what was your like first exposure to music? Like when did you get turned on?
It was probably, I definitely had to have been like elementary school into high school. I was like a skateboarder. I was really big into that, and that kind of exposed you to a lot of music just from those skating videos and all that kind of stuff. And I think that, I don't know. I really can't say exactly what did it, but I just was like, I just wanted to play music. I just, I remember I started because I remember my mom took me to like the public library in Wantagh and got me a VHS cassette on how to play Eleanor Rigby on guitar, which is funny. There's no guitar in that song at all. Actually, I think that's makes a lot of sense. But that was the first time I was like, I want to play guitar because she wanted me to play piano or something. I didn't want to do that. And I definitely like started in school doing drums, but guitar to me was like, I just did that. And then I heard like, Nirvana or any of that kind of stuff. And I remember like, I'm like, all these chords are the same. Like I would just be like learning every song, and I could play by ear. I still can't read music. And I remember being like, I could write my own songs. Those are very simple tunes, and there's a lot of similar turnarounds and stuff. And I think that kind of just got me into, I want to make my own music. Metallica, I was a huge into like early Metallica. Yeah. And just learning, I kind of used to shred when I was younger, and now I realize like even my guitar solos are so atonal and nonsensical.
Right,
right. But I use it as like an advantage. But like the other day I was like trying to write a metal tune, and I'm like, I don't even have shot. Like I can just play what I play.
Yeah.
And I have to just accept it,
Yeah.
Like, so anyway, so that kind of got me into it. I think I just played every kind of band. I always start bands, and my brother was into sports and comics, and I'm like, well, if I can play guitar, you could play bass. And then he ended up being like a phenom on like multiple instruments. He just had that thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is funny because our parents are tone deaf. So
did they play music around the house? Like what were they listening to?
No, man. It's really funny. My mom said she used to sing to me when I was a baby and I would cry. She's like, no, my parents are like, they want to love music, but I was not exposed to I remember when I started driving, my dad had the Beatles White Album, a Yanni CD, and like Andreas Bocelli, who was like a blind Italian.
Yeah. One of the three tenors.
And I remember, I just told my friend the story not too long ago. I remember my dad was being like, he's a beautiful voice and he's blind. And I said to myself, I was like, yeah, but why is that so impressive? He just has to open his mouth and sing. They could follow him with a mic anywhere.
Yeah.
Like he was so impressed by that. Not nothing against that guy, but I just was saying, he just has to stand there. He's not like juggling.
It would be way more impressive if he was blind, but he could see through walls.
Yes, exactly.
That's phenomenal.
Yes. So, but anyway, so I think the Beatles thing kind of got me. My dad did like John Lennon and stuff. He had like a little poster in his office, but there was not like music being given to us or like I envy people when they're like, yeah, my dad was into like really cool stuff. I never had that thing,
Yeah. My mom was into cool stuff and like and knew cool people that brought cool shit over like T-Rex.
Yeah. See, I wish I had it. I think maybe I would have been at a higher level sooner. Maybe I kind of had to like find my own way and all that kind of stuff, but whatever, it's all good. But I can't really explain why I had such a drive to do music. I don't really know what it was,
Yeah.
Just liked it. And I was talking to someone else about that like yesterday. I was like, if I had the distractions at that time, like how kids do today with like the iPads and all that kind of stuff, it's like, maybe I would have done something else, but it's like, I didn't have that. And that's why I sat and played guitar for 6 hours a day or whatever, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And that's kind of scary,
Yeah.
But I'm glad like that I had that feeling of not having that stuff, if that makes sense.
Totally. I work with this nonprofit here in town called the Austin Music Foundation, and in like a mentorship role in this thing called the Artist Development Program. And you get people that are young, and you have to really kind of. It's weird. Like they're everything. Yeah. The way they learned everything's it's weird. It's weird to have every single thing available at your fingertips all the time. Some of them are super badass. Like you meet these kids that there's no learning curve. Like they spend a year, especially since pandemic, like, oh yeah, I just decided I wanted to sing and learn how to play piano and learn how to record from YouTube videos. Yeah. And now listen to this amazing shit. It's blowing your mind.
Yeah. Yeah, it is really interesting. You can have like phenoms who use the technology for good. You know what I mean? And then you just have people just probably wasting time looking at a million things that don't do that. But
my thing would be I started my first band when I was like 14, and I played gigs and stuff. Mm-hmm. But I can't imagine the ability to get immediate the immediate gratification of people telling you you're great,
or not,
or not. But like just the idea, I would have just spent all day long waiting for people to tell me I'm great, just like looking at my phone waiting for likes.
Dude, I didn't really think it's very fascinating. Yeah, like I have like an ADAT or a tape of like from like one of my old when I was a kid 17 band. Like we did like a second record that we never released, and I have the ADAT of it or something here, and it's like, yeah, now you can record a tune, put it up, and send it to all your friends. And, like...
In the time that we have this conversation, someone could do that. Yes.
Absolutely. And it's very fascinating.
Yeah.
I find it very interesting.
Aren't you glad that when you were 17, you weren't able to post that shit? Because
yeah.
Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I'm really grateful for.
Yeah, dude, I had to, I think it took me a while. It took me a long time to kind of get what I wanted to do. I always felt though with the These People stuff that if I would have heard that when I was really young, you were like, oh, this is what you're going to sound like in this amount of time. That I would have been like, oh, that makes sense. And that's something that I like about it. If I would have heard Men, Women, and Children, I'd be like, what the hell am I like? It was so crazy that,
right.
Maybe I would have liked it. Maybe I wouldn't have, but I would have been like, what the hell am I listening to?
Yeah.
Whereas These People is like, oh, this like really makes sense as to what led me into music and where I've evolved.
Right.
I think.
Right.
And that's why I still, it's like I said, it's really my soul thing. It's just me putting out music. Obviously I have help, my brother and my buddy James plays with me and I have a live band right now, but yeah, I think my initial way of how I go about it is something that would have made sense to me if you played it for me when I was really young.
Yeah. You guys recently opened for live, speaking of a live band.
Yeah, we did. That was very random.
Yeah. How did that come about?
That was as simple as I guess they were playing and didn't have support, and we just submitted for the venue. Is a really cool venue out here. And I just sent it. They just put us on, and I guess, hey, up for the show, and they picked us, I guess. I mean, I can only imagine maybe it's because we do sound a little different. They probably heard because they were waiting for the band to decide who was going to play. So they might've just heard a lot of live sounding kind of bands maybe. And we are like nothing like that.
Right.
I didn't really think we'd get it. I thought it was just funny. Like it's such a random thing for us to play,
Yeah. A really dear friend of mine plays guitar with them named Zach Lloyd. Did you meet him?
I met the drummer. I saw the guitar player.
I played with the drummer this summer.
He's awesome.
Yeah,
he was nice.
And Zach. Yeah, he's really nice. God, what is his name? Diaz. Robin Diaz.
Okay, Rob. Yeah, he came up to me and he was super nice to me. And they sounded great. I don't know. It sounded super pro. It's so funny. I was like, man, these guys have a lot of hits. Like I haven't heard it since I was a kid,
Yeah.
Really. And they're, whatever. It was super tight. And they said, the band, I remember the guitar player being really good. So.
Yeah, he's awesome. It was his 40th birthday this summer and he had a bunch of his friends come out and play. And so I played a bunch of songs with them, but fucking Robin guy was great.
Yeah, he and super nice and really good. Yeah, they sold it out. It was a big venue. It's like the biggest place to play out here. Besides, if you're, I can't think of a bigger venue at that level.
Yeah. Do you go play the city?
Yeah, I play Brooklyn, play the city, and yeah, that I think is kind of a little more fitting. There's all this. Obviously, it's a bigger amount of people who are into maybe similar influences or whatever. But out here, I guess my point was, I feel like the bands that are kind of getting big out here are kind of doing a genre that kind of happened, and now they're doing it again, and
right,
what I mean? Like I wouldn't even say I feel like there's like that much of a different spin on it almost when I like hear it. But that's that's just my honest opinion on it, of me just being detached on that level. Like I'm just like, oh, like that band's huge, and they sound like this band that I from this many years ago. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so no, I don't think there's really like a scene of like you live in Austin.
Yeah.
And there's so much cool music happening. I'm actually a big fan of a lot of stuff from Austin, like Rocky Erickson and Daniel Johnston and Towns Van Zant's from Austin too, right?
I mean, kind of.
Kind of?
Yeah. I mean, he's one of those Texas singer-songwriters. I think he might have lived more in Houston, but I know he was around here a lot.
But I love Rocky. That was a big influence to me too. But anyway, Austin has a lot of really cool music. I want to come down there and play again. I played Emos a long time ago.
They moved it to down the street from my place. Now it's in a it's in a new place. Yeah, it's a pretty big venue.
Oh,
now.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No. So, but just to end that thing is like, once again, I don't like to say how I feel. I think something's bad or good, but if to answer your question, I just don't see this like this very not genre specific thing happening where you know what I'm saying? It's not, you can kind of pigeonhole anything that's going on. But I just want to, that's just interesting. Like to find a scene would be really cool. You know what I mean? Yeah. For stuff that's maybe multi-genre. That'd be the best way for me to describe what I'm trying to say.
Well, all the guys that you mentioned from here are dead. So
that's right.
And Britt Daniel from Spoon moved to Portland. So some of the Spoon guys still live here, but that's a good band.
That's a great band.
Yeah. So let me ask you this about: are you guys able to tour around there? Like, is it like? Because here we're able to go to like from here you can go to San Antonio, Dallas, Houston, Waco.
I think like here we could do. It's so funny. I can't say what it is at the moment. I just got a text from a friend of mine, who's in a decent, very very a band, and they just sent me like, "Do you want to do all the dates on this tour that they're doing?" And I was like looking at them. I say like it's a lot easier if we were doing like Boston, Connecticut, Philly, like that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Where everything's like 3 to 4 hours away.
Right.
When you start to head to like the Midwest, it's not as easy. Unless you're like doing tours after tour, you know what I mean? And you're on like that roll.
But are you able to do that? Like are there showcase clubs in all of those towns enough to get out and build audiences in those cities?
Yeah, there's definitely cool venues in like all those surrounding cities. So yeah. I definitely, I like to play Boston again. I haven't played there in years. Philly's really cool. I don't know. The surrounding areas are really cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's
where do you play now outside of like opening for live?
Well, since the pandemic, I kind of that show was our first show we played in like 3 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. We haven't played. I actually put that band together like not that long before that. Maybe like 3 or 4 months we were like practicing, and then we ended up getting that show. So right now I'm actually just starting to book and play shows,
Yeah.
Oh, here's George Harrison Ford. He just came up.
Hey, there you are, buddy. Look at that.
Little bandana.
He's got a bandana. It's a cute cat.
Yeah. So, but yes, no, we just released this record, and I want to support it. This is one doing podcasts and talking to people and booking booking
How
shows.
did you find my podcast?
So this label that we teamed up, I have my own thing called Parallel Division, and there's a label called Greenwich Recordings. So Mark from Greenwich, he's been, I've been working with him for my this release, and he told me about it. He kind of was just like, "Oh, this guy's really cool," and he's Mark's from Austin.
Oh, okay, cool.
So he told me about your podcast, and he just kind of was just like, "Oh, here's some cool stuff. Like, just shoot some emails off." So I guess I did that.
Nice.
And you hit me back.
Yeah. It's funny because I when I started this, I started out with like in a bigger sort of thing. Like I got a producer to do the booking and all that stuff. Then I just kind of like, I just do this myself. And I really do listen to stuff. Sometimes it takes me a long time to get back to people, but like I really do listen to stuff. And it's funny when somebody sends me something and I'm like, oh Jesus, like that was and that's always my first thing. Like, why are you sending me this? I'm going to listen to this. You live in Long Island. I don't fucking care about you and your band. And I put it on and I'm like, I love this dude. I love this dude. And I'm like, yeah.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah, I really
appreciate that.
Yeah, I really love your music. I love your melodies are so they're just different. They're so it's unique. It's interesting to hear something that is unique in this day and age. Played with guitars, bass, and drums. You know what I mean? Like it's hard. Yeah. It's hard to find something that still sounds fresh with that instrumentation.
Yeah, I agree with you. I appreciate that. Is there anything that it reminded you of? I always am curious.
I mean, there are things where like I'm like this guy obviously like I mean I don't know what band that uses a lot of chorus on guitar. There's this sort of like almost television vibe to some of the guitar stuff. It's real angular in that level. Yep. And the prog stuff, but I don't know prog enough except for when someone does something in weird time signatures. I'm like, they must listen to prog.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I hear you. It's funny that I have to say I'll give that. I mean, I love like King Crimson and stuff like that, but I think that on the tune you're talking about specifically, that's definitely like my brother like flipping the rhythm. Yeah, you know what I mean? To like because like I said, a lot of stuff I write is like this, like. You can play it, and even levels. You can play that with that timing.
Right.
But flipping the drums on the off is what makes it interesting. Yeah, I do feel that. You know what I mean? Yeah. A little the quirkiness of stuff popping in and out. Like.
Yeah, I mean, I love your songwriting as well. Like, these are really good songs. Like, I really.
Thank you.
Yeah, I love what how like someone has like a song in them, and not that anyone's songs sound alike, except for like Mark Bolan only wrote 4 different songs and he just kind of changed them around. But
no, that's but like T-Rex has like the same formula.
Whatever song comes out of you, it's good. Like it resonates with me. Like I really connected with it, and I just really enjoyed listening to it. And ever since I got it, I've been listening to it. So
yeah, man, that means a lot to me. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, I
love recording.
Yeah,
man,
it really shows.
I love recording.
That's the other thing is like as a person who also loves recording and loves listening to records, that somebody's having a good time recording. Like you can hear it,
Yeah, I legitimately like when I could get my ADHD focused. I could sit for 10 hours and mix and listen. You know what I mean? Like I can really get into it. I don't know. It's definitely like I have tunnel vision sometimes with that kind of stuff, but I enjoy challenging myself regarding that mixing and recording. And it's just something I enjoy doing. I don't know. It keeps me,
Is there anything new you've been listening to that you can share?
That's funny you say that because I don't really listen to a lot of new music. But I did hear I think they're called Wombo. I found them on listening to something, and they were really cool. It's very post-punky, female vocals, 3-piece, really angular guitar. I believe that was the name of the band. That's something I checked out. I listened to it a little bit. I thought it was really cool.
What is the stuff that you listen? Isn't that weird how we kind of like listen to the same shit that made us want to do this?
Yeah, that's the name of the band, Wamba. Yes, I do think that. But what I find is like a lot of times, you know, you still find new things in older stuff, or there's just other rabbit holes to go down that people kind of dismiss, like, oh, it's an older thing, like who cares, or why, you know, there's, you know, listen to new music, but it's new if you listen to it a certain way, or it's just you find a record of somebody, you know what I mean? Like, like I remember when I heard for the first time a bunch of years ago, but like, I like Big Star, and then I heard like the Chris Bell record.
Oh yeah.
I remember like, oh my God, you know what I mean? Like that was a new record to me, and it was amazing. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I don't know.
I am the Cosmos freak.
Oh dude, what a tune. Jesus. Such a great song. I wanted to cover that before. I've like learned it, but we never played it. But that's a great song. But that was my point, is that I just feel like there's always something you can find by revisiting or then going down different avenues of that stuff that's like really timeless. And, you know, I don't know. I know nothing against new music. Obviously people are making cool stuff and everything, but it's like, unless it's like really presented to me in a certain way, I don't know how I would really find it. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. It's funny because there's like over the last like 15 years, I've gone in and out, but like now for the last 10 years, I've really kind of like stepped away, because the mainstream, just everything feels so crafted and so over fucking like corrected, time wise, pitch wise.
Oh yeah,
formula wise.
I really dislike. For me personally, I don't like using auto tune or on anything I work on. Auto tune and beat matching, that kind of stuff. I feel like the drums and the vocals. The drums are like, every drummer has a different personality. Like you lock that in exactly to the click and sample that on all that. I don't know. I do think that kind of lose. You might as well just program the drums. Yeah. Without a real person at that 100%, point, to a degree, you know, 100%. Whatever. I don't like to sound like this is just my opinions on any of the stuff I'm saying, but I just feel like a drummer, the way they play is the thing. You know, a lot of even these people stuff is, you know, the drum track that was played, you know, and maybe I'll overdub something or have that, but like my brother, like play through the tune. It's like, that's the take. Okay, cool. Yeah. That was a good take. That's a take. Yeah. You know, when you start auto tuning and all that kind of stuff, you're, once again, I'm sure there's a way to do it. I just don't even know how to use the program, to be honest. I just feel like get the vocal, how it should sound, however many takes it takes, that's what it takes you to do it. And it sounds good. I don't know, you know?
There's also something about limitations. Like when I came up, it was, you know, I had a 4-track cassette. I mean, I went from 4-track cassette to 8-track cassette to like some kind of like ADAT thing, like a digital thing. Yeah. But that sort of like commitment, you know, when you're recording and you have to, like, if you want something to sound a certain way, you have to do it and print it that way, because you don't have a bunch of extra, you know, you don't have a full effects rack and all that shit, right? You can't put effects on all the tracks. And something about that commitment and limitation, to me, and for me, and I feel like a lot of other artists, pushed their creativity beyond the boundaries. You know what I'm saying? And now that there are no boundaries, I don't know what's happening anymore.
you can kind of take forever to make it perfect, or use artificial ways to make it perfect. But I do think that personality is part of. Exactly. You might not be the best drummer or the best guitar player, but you have something that's original, and that is you, and it has character. I think that's. Yeah, and I think that's really important. You know, I don't know. You want to have character, or with that. I don't know. I don't really like when I hear. I mean, unless you're doing like electronic music and it's intentionally that, and that's also awesome too, depending. But when you're taking, you know, somebody and you're correcting it because they can't play it properly, I think you're definitely sucking the life out of that. Right. That makes sense.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're not using it as an instrument. You're using it as correction tool to make someone sound talented.
Right. Right.
Because they didn't do all the work on their own.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Or
You can hear it.
Or it can suck the life and excitement out of something. Like, imagine if like the Rolling Stones were a new band and they went into the studio and played Honky Tonk Women, you know, which ends much faster than it starts. You know, some dude would have gone back and like fixed all the fucking kick drums and snares and all that shit.
Dude, you should do that. That's like really have somebody do that.
At least he's dead. It would be funny now to do it. At least he's passed away and he wouldn't have to hear it or see it.
No, dude. But yeah, man, that's true. You know, it's I don't know. But music is a wonderful thing, and it's just great to to hear. I just like listening to stuff that really just turns me on and makes me feel like I have I don't know. I just think there's still so much. That's why when you talk about new music and stuff, like, yeah, of course, there's obviously new bands like doing cool stuff, but there's just such timeless things that are great that I just take such influence from, and I love listening to it. You know, and it, like makes me feel like I'm studying. You know what I mean? You used to listen to Beatles tunes and hear stuff that you didn't really hear and be like, whoa, that's, you know, that's really something special. And, you know, like but if you just say, I always have a few friends in life would just be something like, oh, the Beatles stuff, whatever it is, whether you like them or not. But that music was great. The lyrics are great. The songs are great. The parts were great, you know, and
the recording was great and adventurous.
The recording was great. And they didn't did you watch that Get Back?
Yeah, fuck yeah. I watched it like 3 times.
Yeah, dude. But you know, you just had to be, how do I say this? There's like a gray area kind of like people say music's subjective, but like, I don't know. Is it really that subjective? I mean, I don't know. You know, everyone has different opinions, so whatever. Yeah. But like, you know, if you just played like a child in a different country, just heard something that, you know, they heard Beatles for the first time with no other outside influence as to if this is cool or if they're supposed to like this or not. Right. And it's just, you know, they just heard it. It's beautiful music. Yeah. Yeah. Like it evokes a specific emotion. You know what I mean? That was a weird reference I just said, but that's what popped into my head. But, you know, well, I get frustrated when people say they hate the Beatles. It bothers me.
I admire people that don't like them because I wish there was a way that they didn't loom over every fucking thing I did all the time. You know what I mean? Like, I wish I could do something and be like, I beat him. I'm better than the Beatles.
Amazing.
You know what I mean? I wish I could. Yeah, I wish I could live in a world where there was that freedom.
I know, but I don't know. Whatever. I mean, it influenced me, and it was. I just think it's beautiful music, and you still hear it back and be like, how did George Harrison write that song? You know, like that's what came out of him. Yeah. Or even All Things Must Pass, his solo record. You know what I mean? Like, like tunes on that, you're like, what? And amazing that they were like three of those cats were that heavy songwriters in the same band. Yeah. That's another thing that's kind of mind blowing. Like even the John Lennon solo stuff's amazing, and Paul. And I don't know how I took us down a Beatles turn, but
I'm actually wearing a Paul pin.
Oh. Yeah. Maybe that was subconsciously talking to you, and that's what happened.
Well, you know, you love me. Hey. The other thing is Ringo, dude. That's the thing in Get Back, where you're just like, that fucking guy is visibly hungover every single day. And plays his ass off as soon as they're like, go. He's like, coolest thing you ever heard someone play.
Dude, I'll say this. I don't want to drone on, but like, I remember when I realized Ringo was awesome. It sounds like a stupid thing to say, but back in the day, I don't know if you remember, people were like, oh, Ringo sucks. Like, Ringo is amazing. Yeah. Like, that dude is like, you know what actually was when I saw a very long time ago, the John Lennon making a Plastic Ono band.
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah. The classic
dude,
albums.
That's when.
Yeah.
I was like, this guy, man. Like, he'll be like, I'll play this Phil again. It's not going to be the same Phil. Yeah. Like, it's just not, you know, and I thought that was amazing. And yeah. I always find it interesting that he like always plays live with like multiple drummers.
Now, I think now because he's like 80.
Yeah, but he's been doing it since the 80s. right?
I guess so. Yeah, I mean, you're right. He does do stuff with multiple drummers. I don't know.
Which is like cool, whatever. But I'm just saying, he's like, I don't know why that he doesn't.
I don't know.
Just open to a query in my own mind.
He also doesn't seem very precious about anything that he does.
Yeah, he's just cool as hell.
Yeah.
He's just like,
yeah,
I'll get the best musicians to play with me. I was in the Beatles. Yeah, I didn't really write that much, and these dudes are dope, and I still look great. And I'm like,
he does
90.
still look great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's hanging in there, man.
I think Howard. I'm a big Howard Stern fan, but I remember he loves the Beatles and loves. I mean, he said something like, "Who would have thought Ringo ended up being the best looking Beatle?" I thought that was funny.
It's true. Because he was in third place.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, dude, this has been great talking to you, man. And
you too, man.
We should stay in touch. I really,
Absolutely.
If you come down here, I'd love to hang out and come see you play and the whole thing.
Yeah, man. Like I was thinking that as you were talking, I'm like, man, I'd hang with this dude.
Yeah, totally.
So we should definitely we'll text and stay in touch and
Yeah. We have
like
each
that.
other's numbers.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that we were able to get this together. And In Place of Time is the name of the EP. It's available now. There's also Animal Behavior, which is great. There's tons of music out there from these people. And if you want to feel adventurous and know that a band was ahead of its time, men, women, and children, as weird as that is for you to listen to, it's good stuff.
Thank you.
File under, what was the band that I said? I want to say T-Bird and the Breaks. No.
T-Bird. What did you say?
Fits in the Tantrums.
Oh, okay.
Totally Fits in the Tantrums. Early Fits in the Tantrums is what it reminds me of. Well, dude, yeah, I will. I'll stay in touch. It's been great talking to you.
You too, man.
Yeah, have a great day.
We'll talk soon. You too, buddy. We'll talk soon. Take care.
That's TJ Penzone from These People from Long Island, New York. Get out and see them. Find them at thesepeople.org. Check out their EP, In Place of Time. Fantastic EP. Hopefully you're digging it. You're hearing it now. Hey, don't forget when you're out there checking out thesepeople.org. Don't forget that you can subscribe to this podcast wherever it is that you find podcasts. You'll get new shows every Tuesday and every Friday. You'll get a From the Vault episode every once in a while. I drop old shows because we're in the 1,200 and something episodes now. Great talking to TJ Penzone. What a nice guy. We've actually been texting back and forth and talking. All right. I hope you have a great weekend. All right. Enjoy it. Let's get down.